What's up, everybody? This is Domingo here on Necro of the Iceberg, and today's video I'm going to be doing, guys, I'm going to do another gaming news. And in this gaming news I'm going to be doing today is I am going to talk about not one, not two, but three countries that are against Sony's decision to end physical games for PlayStation. So we're going to get this started. So here we go. And the three countries that I'm talking about is Brazil, Dutch, and Mexico. So we're going to get this started. Let's start off with Brazil first. So this is from article right here. This is from X/Twitter. We got X user Pirate Nation. He said in this article right here, and I'm going to read it to you. It says, Brazil is officially joining the Stop Killing Games conversation. Congressing Women's Jahara Farhali has introduced Bill 3612/2026, inspired by the Stop Killing Games movement. If passed, game publishers will have to ensure players can keep their games even after official support ends. The bill will also update Brazil's consumer protection code to better cover digital games. This comes just days after Congresswoman Aria Helton called for an investigation into Sony's plans to stop releasing new PlayStation games on physical disc. So this bill, basically, if it does pass, it will ensure players to be keeping their games. So basically what this bill does in Brazil is, if it does get passed, then the game publishers had to make, like, physical game for people to keep their games, and not to mention the protection code to make a better cover digital games. So it's pretty interesting that the countries like Brazil, Dutch, and Mexico are against Sony's decision for ending their physical games. So it's a pretty interesting thing to see. If this bill does pass, that means the gaming publishers, basically, they're going to have to force making games that are physical in that region. So this could be in trouble, not for Sony, and it's not just the game but it's Sony as well. So Sony could be in serious trouble for this if this bill passed. So it's basically like you gotta, forcing them to do physical games. So, but we'll see how this goes, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe if this bill will pass, maybe it won't. We'll find out soon enough. All right, so the next country I want to talk about is Dutch, another country that also is against Sony's decision to kill physical games. So here we go. So here's an article right here. This is from the Fanchess Yahoo website. It says Sony infamously destroy its own defense. How is this free PS5 plan triggers a $457 million lawsuit and undercut its antitrust defense. So not only that Dutch is also against the Sony's any of their physical games, but they're even suing Sony for $457 million. So that's not good for Sony. I mean, damn, Sony's been getting a lot of lawsuits, these past few months, man. They're getting a lot of them, It's crazy. But anyway, let's read this article. It says Sony's plans to phase out physical PlayStation 5 disc by January 2020 have moved from a public-related problem to a legal one. Dutch consumer grouping Snitching Messenger and Consume has filed a $457 million lawsuit to the behalf of the 1.7 million Dutch PlayStation users. Argue Sony's 30% PlayStation Store commission will inflate game prices once physical altercation disappear. So this comes to aim backlash to Sony move to get rid of physical games, with thousands of gamers flooding Sony's PlayStation byline announced to vent their anger, ranting from disappointment to threatening to stop supporting PlayStation altogether. This is because Sony has now control, because without physical discs, there'll be no real Steam market to put money back in gamers' hands or let them get games more cheaply. How killing this undercuts Sony's own legal defense. But that control is exactly what makes the disc phase out riskier than Sony may have applied it. Andrew Chen, the marketing chair at Johns Hopkins Caring Businesses School, who studied video games demand, told Fortune the 30% Sony tax applies only to digital downloads sold through the PlayStation Store. Chunka explained physical retailers and contents pay. Sony has interesting point to that physical marketplace, while the defense itself against antitrust claims treating retail's competitive like used games in resale marketing and evidence it wasn't a monopoly. However, by pacing out physical games, Sony has ever destroyed its own defense. Chen told Fortune, without physical options, Chen says, price seamlessly consumers have nowhere to go but Sony's own storefront, absorbing the full price with no alternative in the resale space. Whew. Excuse me, guys, I was yawning, sorry. The backlash Sony didn't fully price in. Sony has framed the move to get rid of physical discs as friendly follow consumers behavior, roughly 85%. Marketing when defending itself to the claim. Let's see what it says here. Oh, yeah, to consume roughly 85% of physical games sales, not already digital, but that leaves a non-traveler 50% still buying physical copies, according to Chen, who studies the used games and retail marketing editorial data out of Japan. There are some people out there who are diehard who grew up with Sony with Xbox who still have very much enjoy the flexibility of having physical copies and possibly can resell it. He says there's map behind the nostalgia too. A buyer who knows that they could trade a $60 game for roughly $20 is effectively paying $40 for it. Chang says, but once Sony removed that option, their willingness to pay is going to decrease, pushing some players towards switching consoles simply buying fewer games. Analyst says killing the resale market also has Sony. Sorry about that, guys. I was yawning. Full control of the secondary market, something that it has wanted to resell the competitor erodes its own pricing power. Every resale, the renter and the value flowers to players, and their resale instead of to the platform. Russell Warren Games analysis told GameSpot, without this, they consumer into the gets to the full tail price digitally, and it doesn't happen at all. The outcomes absolutely sue. Sony better have a thriving second-hand market. Cheng research such as that fear has been overstaying practice since buyers value a game's newest enough that says have copies of a weaker substitute that publish soon, but he said the backlash is less about the substitutionally math than and more about consumers losing the option they come to expect. It's always something to make things very difficult for people to accept, Cheng says. All right, so that's a pretty statement there from Cheng's, talking about, he does got some valid points, about, the physical games and stuff like that. He also made some very good points about, the monopoly that Sony's doing. I mean, Sony is, not only anti-consumer, but it's their corporate greed, And I did talk about the other lawsuit from the other gaming news video that I talked about when Sony faces a monopoly lawsuit that they were doing over the situation with the money and the digital when people were buying digital games on their PlayStation Store. So it's just really sad to see. This situation is just like, man, I'm telling you, the backlash ain't going away to the point that the fact that Sony is just ending their physical games on PlayStation to the point that they're getting sued over it. It's just a crazy situation. So we'll see how that lawsuit, I guess we'll see how that lawsuit goes and see what's going on. But speaking about lawsuits, we got another lawsuit that I got to talk about, and another country that is also against Sony's decision to end physical games, and that's Mexico. So yes, from Brazil to Dutch to Mexico now. And here's a lawsuit article I'm going to read right here from DutchGamer.com, and it reads here: Mexican lawmakers to file antitrust complaint against Sony over digital-only PlayStation strategy. Sony's decision to end production of physical PlayStation game discs beginning in January 2028, now facing legal scenario in Mexico. So federal deputies Iris Reyes and Senator Louis Donio Colonial, both members of the Memorial Colonial Party, has announced plans to file a formal antitrust complaint with Mexico National Antitrust Commission, also known as the COFECE. The lawmakers argue that eliminating physical PlayStation releases will effectively force consumers to purchase all new games through the PlayStation Store, giving Sony exclusive control over digital distribution for both first-party and third-party titles. According to the complaint, the move could reduce competition, leading to higher game prices as retailers will no longer be able to compete with Sony on new releases. The lawmaker also warns that the decision to eliminate the second-hand game market, preventing players from reselling, leading, or collecting physical games. The lawmaker argues that eliminating physical PlayStation will release effectively more consumers to purchase. So yeah, according to the complaint, the move could reduce competition, leading to higher game prices to resell. They're no longer be able to compete with Sony's on new release. The lawmaker also warned that the decision will eliminate the second-hand game market, preventing players from reselling, leading, or collecting physical copies. Furthermore, physical rate concerns about the impact on Mexican retailers, including chains such as Game Planet, Liverpool, and Suburns, which continue on replaying on physical game sale. It also highlights the challenge faced by players in regions with limited access on high-speed internet, where downloadable large digital games may not be practical. Behind consumers, the legalist argues that publishers and developers will become increasingly dependent on Sony's promo pricing politics and the serving inflexible. In Games Edition, fresh out of an uni, already on my third Reddit. So yeah, wow. So there you go. So this is not looking good for Sony, So yeah, I will say, these people, the two men that I mentioned talking about this, they do have some valid points when it becomes, because without, with Sony ending physical games and, focusing on people forcibly buying games, that means they cannot own anything. I mean, you can't own this game, you cannot own this game. And then, the whole monopoly with Sony with the PlayStation Store, and not to mention, because of the digital games that there's a possibility that publishers and developers probably get when they try to create these games, the prices is probably going to go skyrocket if this goes through and stuff like that, with making digital only games and stuff like that. So this is not good for Sony, because oh man, they're in serious trouble here with this lawsuit. Maybe it can go somewhere, who knows, but yeah, and I gotta say, this is not looking good for Sony. I will say this, the fact that they're getting sued over ending their physical games and stuff like that, it's not looking good, and Sony is in serious jeopardy here. And not only that, but also the PlayStation brand could be in serious danger if stuff like this happen, because with 3 countries are against physical games, against Sony, against their decision to end physical games for PlayStation, they're in serious trouble here, man. And you know what? And I gotta say this right now. I love physical media, I really do, and I'm more of a physical person, digital person, and I like physical games because, it's pretty cool, always go to a game store, buy them, and owning these games, and the fact that Sony is just throwing that all the way, it's just not good. And that's why people are thinking about not buying PlayStation 6 when it comes out. They don't want to buy a console that has only digital games and there's no physical games to them to own or anything. Especially if they want to sell in the future, maybe they can make money off of it when selling them. It's just not good. It's really not good. It's a damn shame about how the current state of video games is nowadays. Because I will say this. I want to give a shout out to Chris Harris, because he actually said this to me. He said that we're in a dark age of gaming right now. And he is absolutely right about that. Yeah, we're in a dark age of gaming, and this is not good, And then this lawsuit, oh man, Sony's in big trouble, because if they lose this lawsuit, man, I think Sony needs to make the. I think Sony's gonna have, not only that they're gonna probably lose a lot of money from this, but also they're gonna have to, like, reconsider. If I were Sony, I would just reconsider and thinking about bringing back, physical games into the PlayStation 6 and maybe make a disc drag out of it or something. But we all know how Sony is, because they're nothing but corporate greed. That's the thing. Sony is corporate greed, and even there are like some publishers and developers who are also corporate greed, and they want to increase the price of games that they want to develop, which is ridiculous, So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video, guys. So hope you guys enjoy doing this gaming news video. What do you guys think about Brazil, Dutch, and Mexico, are against Sony's decision to end physical games, as well as the lawsuits going around? So don't forget to like the video, share, subscribe, and post your comments in the comment section below, and tell me what you think about this. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. So this is Domingo Hero Network, the Iceberg. All I can say is take care. Have a good day. Goodbye, everyone. And Domingo Hero Network, the Iceberg is signing out. Peace.